and welcome to another edition of Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Layo Olarinde. Coming up this week, famine confirmed for the first time in Gaza, plus Israeli protesters stage a day of disruption amid growing calls for an end to the war. After 22 months of conflict, the United Nations has confirmed famine in Gaza. More than 500,000 people are starving, with children the worst affected. A new report warns the crisis is spreading fast as aid agencies insist only a ceasefire and full humanitarian access can save lives.
More than 500,000 people in Gaza are now living under confirmed famine conditions, according to a new IPC analysis. It is the first time a famine has ever been officially declared in the Middle East. By the end of September, over 640,000 people are projected to face catastrophic levels of hunger, while more than 1.5 million others will be in emergency or crisis levels.
There are very few famines that have ever been confirmed in the history of the IPC. There was one in Somalia in 2011, one in South Sudan in 2017, another in South Sudan in 2020, and then Sudan in 2024 until today. So Gaza is the fifth famine to have been confirmed since the IPC has been created. This is an important moment.
Children are among the hardest hit. In July alone, over 12,000 children were diagnosed as acutely malnourished, the highest monthly figure ever recorded.
Our conditions are not good. We used to eat 3 meals a day, but now only 1. Every morning my children cry saying, "Mother, make us bread. We are hungry." Their bodies are getting smaller and weaker. I'm terrified I might lose them.
At Al-Aqsa Hospital in central Gaza, doctors say as many as 80% of children admitted suffer from malnutrition, with nearly half in severe condition.
My daughter suffers from severe malnutrition. She is now 4 months old and weighs only 1.5 kilograms. She is here in the hospital due to malnutrition and suffers from chest infections. She needs milk and proper nutrition, which are not available. A baby her age should weigh much more.
Malnutrition weakens immunity and makes children vulnerable to all diseases. We have lost some due to the combination of hunger and other illnesses.
The war has destroyed farmland and greenhouses, left fisheries idle, and decimated local food production. 98% of cropland is now damaged or inaccessible. With unemployment at record levels, many families can no longer afford even basic food.
Prices are extremely high. I have been without work for 2 years. I held a tomato in my hand out of sheer longing. We have forgotten what it looks like. I cannot buy a kilo of tomatoes for 70 shekels while my children are starving.
Thank you very much. I see many hands.
The UN Humanitarian Office describes the situation as one of the most predictable and preventable crises in modern history.
Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine. The Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that therefore also asks, and what now will you do? My ask, my plea, my demand to Prime Minister Netanyahu and anyone who can reach him. Enough. Ceasefire. Open the crossings, north and south, all of them. Let us get food and other supplies in, unimpeded, and at the massive scale required. End the retribution. It is too late for far too many, but not for everyone in Gaza. Enough. For humanity's sake, let us in.
The famine declared today in Gaza Governorate by the IPC is the direct result of actions taken by the Israeli government. It has unlawfully restricted the entry and distribution of humanitarian assistance and other goods necessary for the survival of the civilian population in the Gaza Strip. We have already seen deaths from starvation and malnutrition across the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military has destroyed critical civilian infrastructure, almost all agricultural land, banned fishing, and forcibly displaced the population, all drivers of this famine. It is a war crime to use starvation as a method of warfare, and the resulting deaths may also amount to the war crime of willful killing. The Israeli authorities must take immediate steps to end the famine in the Gaza Governorate and prevent further loss of life across the Gaza Strip. They must ensure immediate entry of humanitarian assistance in sufficient amounts and full access to UN and other humanitarian organisations.
Israel has rejected the IPC findings, insisting there is no famine in Gaza and accusing the UN of relying on Hamas lies. The IPC has denied that claim, reaffirming that all famine criteria, extreme food deprivation, acute malnutrition, and starvation-related deaths have been met.
Meanwhile, protests against Israel's war in Gaza are intensifying at home and abroad. In Tel Aviv, thousands staged a day of disruption to denounce Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plans to occupy Gaza City.
In Tel Aviv, protesters flooded the streets with chants, flares and flags. Signs read, "Sabotaging deals kills hostages," as demonstrators demanded diplomacy instead of war.
We feel a lot of frustration from our government, from the way they're handling the war, the way they're handling, especially asking for the kidnapped people.
Our government wants the war to continue forever. This is how they will stay in rule. So unless people will say we don't want this war anymore, they will not end it. They will always find an excuse why to go on with this war. As long as the war continues, they will be still in rule. Civilians are civilians everywhere. We don't want any people to die on other sides of the border. We want to end the war, have all our hostages back, and start rebuilding Israel and rebuilding Gaza.
The protests come as Israel approved a new military plan to take control of Gaza City, despite warnings from the UN that more death and destruction will follow.
I must reiterate that it is vital to reach immediately a ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages, and to avoid the massive deaths and destruction that a military operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause. Simultaneously, the decision by the Israeli authorities to expand illegal settlement construction which would divide the West Bank must be reversed. All settlement construction is a violation of international law.
Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, a double strike on Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis killed at least 20 people. Victims included health workers and journalists from the Associated Press, Reuters, Al Jazeera, and Middle East Eye.
The killing of journalists in Gaza should shock the world, not into stunned silence, but into action, demanding accountability and justice. We can say that the Israeli military reportedly launched multiple airstrikes on the Nasser medical complex, and there was 2 airstrikes in a short period of time. This is a shock, and this is unacceptable. We know that the Israeli army has announced that there will be an inquiry. This incident and the killing of all civilians, including journalists, must be thoroughly and independently investigated, and justice must follow. We have seen and documented many attacks on journalists, which are unacceptable. At least 247 Palestinian journalists have been killed in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023. These journalists are the eyes and the ears of the whole world, and they must be protected.
The Israeli military said the strike targeted a Hamas surveillance camera near the hospital, admitting gaps in the operation, but denying that journalists were deliberate targets.
Earlier today, IDF troops carried out a strike in the area of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. We are aware of reports that harm was caused to civilians, including journalists. I would like to be clear from the start. The IDF does not intentionally target civilians. The IDF makes every effort to mitigate harm to civilians while ensuring the safety of our troops. Any incident that raises concern in this regard is addressed by the relevant mechanisms in the IDF. We are operating in an extremely complex reality. Hamas terrorists deliberately use civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, as shields. They have even operated from the Nasser hospital itself. Hamas began this war, created impossible fighting conditions, and is preventing its end by still holding 50 of our hostages. Reporting from an active war zone carries immense risk, especially in a war with a terrorist organization such as Hamas, who cynically hides behind the civilian population. As always, we will present our findings as transparently as possible. We regret any harm to uninvolved individuals and are committed to continue fighting Hamas while taking all the necessary precautions.
Meanwhile, weekly global protests condemning the war continues. In the Dutch city of Utrecht, activists held a striking memorial to honor Palestinian children and journalists killed in Gaza. 18,000 pairs of children's shoes were placed across a central square, accompanied by flowers, toys, and portraits of slain reporters.
Today we are in Utrecht in the Netherlands for the 13th times organizing the memorial protest. We have 18,000 children's shoes. But there are in reality way more children that have been murdered. We are also commemorating the Palestinian journalists that were killed in Gaza. Almost 300 of them have been killed by Israel by now, and this is just incomprehensible. So we are sharing their stories to show also their humanity, because they are so dehumanized by the occupation. Even Anas al-Sharif, where they say that maybe he was a Hamas militant. We have seen Anas al-Sharif work day in, day out, just covering the humanity of the Palestinian people.
Our government is complicit in war crimes and also continues to send weapons and parts for fighter planes and things like that to Israel. And somehow our government doesn't seem able and obviously isn't willing to stop this. And I think our government is being held hostage by extreme right-wing parties, Christian nationalist parties as well, that do everything in their power to stop how do you say it, to continue actually, and to not withhold arms sales to Israel, which is, I think, really, I can't believe it. If you have the power to stop a genocide, why, or to at least do your part in stopping a genocide, why wouldn't you do it?
Israel has strongly rejected accusations of war crimes and genocide and has denounced the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Prime Minister Netanyahu as anti-Semitic. The war began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas killed more than 1,100 people in southern Israel and kidnapped over 200 others. Israel's response has since left more than 62,000 Palestinians dead and close to 160,000 injured, according to Gaza's health ministry.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, Typhoon Kajiki lashes out on Southeast Asia, causing widespread damage and disruption. Please join us again. Thanks for staying with us. Vietnam and southern China are reeling after Typhoon Kajiki swept through the region, bringing powerful winds, torrential rain, and widespread destruction. At least 8 people have been killed in Vietnam, hundreds of thousands forced to evacuate, and more than 1 million left without power.
Typhoon Kajiki slammed into Vietnam's central coast on Monday after lashing southern China a day earlier. Footage shows corrugated roofs ripped from buildings, streets covered in debris, and utility poles torn down. Residents describe the terrifying sound of metal sheets flying through the air.
When I opened the door, I saw trees swaying and the school roof flying away. It sounded like bombs during wartime. Everyone was too scared to go outside.
In the north of the country, at least 3 people lost their lives. 1 victim was electrocuted, while others were struck by falling debris. Authorities say more than 870,000 households lost power in Nung Ge alone, with outages affecting 1.6 million across multiple provinces. Flooding has inundated rice fields, damaging crops and threatening food supplies. Over 44,000 people were evacuated from coastal communities as heavy rains continue to raise fears of flash floods and landslides.
This is the most terrible storm in 20 years. Trees, roofs, road signs, everything was blown down. Even very old trees were toppled.
Kajiki first struck southern China's resort island of Hainan, where the city of Sanya was brought to a standstill. Public transport was halted, tourist sites closed, and power outages left neighborhoods in darkness.
Everything was rattling during the night. Windows blew out. Cars and mopeds were crushed under trees. It looked like a war film.
Chinese authorities issued a red alert, their highest warning, as hundreds of flights were cancelled. Meteorologists say Kajiki reached Category 2 strength at sea, with winds over 160 kilometers an hour. Though it weakened inland, its destructive force left a trail of damage across both China and Vietnam. Typhoon season in the region peaks in late summer, and with climate change intensifying rainfall and winds, storms like Kajiki are expected to become even more devastating. In September last year, Typhoon Yagi swept through large parts of Southeast Asia, including Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, causing billions in damage and killing more than 500 people.
Well, the deadly monsoon rains are also wreaking havoc across South Asia. In India, Mumbai was brought to a standstill after days of torrential downpours, while Gujarat battles dangerous flash floods.
In Mumbai, relentless monsoon rains has claimed 21 lives in the past week alone. Footage shows streets turned into canals, with vehicles stranded and residents wading through knee-deep water.
We are trying to get to work, but the water is above our knees. Shops are closed, and we've run out of food at home. The water has gone down a little today, but yesterday it was much higher. Many cars were submerged, including ours. We run a tours and travel business. 7 or 8 of our vehicles were drowned. We have lost everything.
On Friday, the heavy rains dumped over 300 millimeters on the city in just 24 hours, shutting schools, shops, and government offices. Further west in Gujarat, the National Disaster Response Force launched rescue operations after floods submerged homes and roads.
A truck with 13 people was stuck, and they were successfully rescued, but one person drowned in the fields. The mud and thorns make it very hard to move our boats.
Authorities confirmed at least 2 deaths, with more than 600 people evacuated. Forecasters warn more rain is expected in the coming days. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, officials began evacuating tens of thousands after India released water from overflowing dams into low-lying border areas. The flood alert marked the first diplomatic contact between India and Pakistan since their 4-day conflict in May. Pakistan's disaster authority says over 800 people have already died nationwide since late June, with cloudbursts and flash floods striking multiple provinces. Residents in the northwest say they received no warning before a sudden flood in Buner district killed more than 300 people. While the monsoon season from June to September brings about 3/4 of South Asia's annual rainfall, which is crucial for crops, it also brings landslides and flash floods.
And finally, on the program, in Ghana, thousands have gathered in Accra for the annual Chale Wote Festival. It's a vibrant celebration of African art, music, and performance. Now in its 13th year, it has grown into one of the continent's most dynamic cultural events. Take a look.
Accra's streets burst into color as artists, performers, and visitors came together for the Chale Wote Festival. Festival goers were treated to live paintings, models in costumes made from recycled fabric, leaves and CDs, and interactive art displays across the city.
I've been with Chale Wote for 8 years now, and I've been doing this live painting for the 5th time. This should be the 5th time, being the only female amongst males. We have other artists who are exhibiting, but I'm the only female who does mural art. My artwork is inspired by this year's theme, the Alps beneath the Nile linked to Congo. So we are talking about the unity and the dream of Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba. And so this unity is what I'm trying to build up.
I'm trying to repurpose or use this paper to create art by giving it life again. So the artworks you're seeing here are made with paper. And they are and interestingly, the papers I used are from my exam office.
Fashion students also showcased their creativity by transforming discarded materials into striking designs.
I want to show everybody around me that when it comes to the fashion industry, nothing is useless. So I decided to choose the plastic, rubber, and then the CD.
Visitors admired the imagination on display, from hidden water reveal drawings to large-scale street art.
Wow, it's been a great thing. I didn't know. I only heard about dancing, and all the things, but when I came, what I saw is really marvelous. The artwork that I saw here is really outstanding. Different kind of thing, using even sports shoes to form a human being. I'm really impressed. I even came across also to a hidden drawing that you have to use water before you discover what is under. And I tried it, saw some human beings, saw different kind of pictures. But can you imagine, we use water to discover also that this is really great.
The Chala Wote Festival began in 2011 to promote Ghana's creative industries. Today, it attracts artists from across Africa and beyond with sustainable art, interactive installations, and nightly music concerts.
And that's the program today. Remember, you can catch all our top stories and more on channelstv.com. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.